an undisclosed location in the Great Western Desert in the land of the free and autonomous Native American people. The 2024 presidential campaign in its time to return all US land back to their rights owners. This is the Ben Zion Podcast.
Techno-communism will win.
Probably looks like I'm in front of a condemned building, but that's just the building behind me. Happens to be like this. I'm in Verde Park, not Hans Park. I was just talking to somebody about Hans Park. I came over here, so I wanted to get out of the house, and but still do some work, which I haven't managed to do. Working on Falcon X Omega Point, the animated film I'm working on. I'm working on an anime-style feature that's using high-end video AI generation to generate basically or modify basically every image in the film. And it's coming along. I'm about one big sequence away from having all of the video material completed for the purposes of a first cut. And then I have to spend a week or two on fixing up all the audio elements. So I was going to do a couple more. Sometimes I walk the track here and do a couple of video AI generations on my phone. And then I bumped into my buddy, so I was talking to him. And I still didn't really do any work or any editing because I was going to work on my remote desktop and maybe do a little editing if I felt up to it. But decided I would do a show instead because I haven't done one in a few days. I thought I would do a show about Mia Khalifa. If you don't know, Mia Khalifa was an adult film star at one point who I guess came to prominence as being kind of she's a Syrian Christian by her background, not necessarily by her beliefs, but she came to prominence as being a sort of a girl next door type entertainer who wore hijab in these adult scenes. So this and her social media presence created a kind of firestorm around her personality. And she was able to then transition to being a social media influencer. So she got out of that business, which is probably for the best. They said that she only ever made about $10,000 from the adult business, even though she became arguably like the most famous of these kind of entertainers in many years. But she only made a few $1,000s directly from that business. That's generally how this sort of thing is. It's worse than that because the adult film business is inextricable from global networks of white slavery, enslaving sexual enslavement of women and children. And so there's no real justification for the existence of these type of businesses. Aside from the necessity of being broad-minded with sexual things, no serious communist really looks at the sex trades as being something to extol, nor should they be demonized, because a person like Mia Khalifa is somebody who's trying to make a living, right? Just like you. But this is still problematic business. There's a lot of other things you could say about sex work along these lines. But Mia Khalifa is in the news, not for what she originally became famous for, but for supporting Palestinian freedom fighters and saying some pointed things beyond what even many of the people that I am often retweeting and conversing with on the subject will say. So she has become a militant, which is the correct position, right? Mia Khalifa is not a Muslim. She's just somebody who recognizes that Palestine was stolen by the fascist West, by Christian Zionists, and by false Jews, Judaic Zionists. This was stolen in an imperial project. Forget about the religious crap, because none of that is meaningful. What really happened in this story is the UK Imperial fascist empire controlled this and other regions. The nature of their empire changed. They were no longer able to control this. So they started a new project there, the Zionist project. You can read all about this and read about Balfour and so forth. Basically creating a imperial satellite, an imperialist proxy state, transplanting European people, not Semitic for the most part, some people who are generally regarded as Jews, right? Like there's no right of return for African Jews who arguably have the best case for being real Jews by an objective standard, by a non-Eurocentric standard. But they're not treated as such. This fascist state of Israel does not treat them as such, maltreats them. It denies their right of return, so to speak, relative to other people who claim this. You can be just in the United States and just say, I like Judaism now. I want to move to Israel. And they'll let you do that. But these people that have many thousands of years of connection to this, who, by virtue of them being dark-skinned, not allowed to do that. This is a fascist project. It's always been a fascist project. So it's created by UK Christian Zionists, effectively, and it's been since propped up by other fascist Western Christian Zionist powers, most particularly the United States, the most dastardly of all fascist Christian Zionist powers in history. My view is what's happening in the Middle East right now is the United States, with its $1 trillion war machine, is provoking, intentionally provoking, conditions that could lead to nuclear World War III. And why is it doing this? Because the 80% of people who are working for artificially low wages and have artificially high housing costs in this country are fed up with their $1 trillion war machine. They're fed up with it being the world's worst polluter. They're fed up with the system wherein Western fascism kills the planet to such a degree that humanity might not exist in just a few short years. So they create this neo-crusade type environment where war is done elsewhere, escalating, very exciting, religious fervor all over the place. But really what they're doing is creating yet another colonialist hellscape by not freeing Palestinian people. And doing this to do what they always do, which is distract people from being free people. You know, you could argue that the Trump administration was a really good example of this in another light, right? People were fed up with this. They were fed up with the prison industrial complex. In 2015, if you polled conservatives and liberals, all capitalists, even capitalists, were saying we shouldn't have a prison industrial complex. We shouldn't have 25% of the world's prisoners when we have 4% of the world's population. So what do? You have a ready-made fascist demagogue, Peter Thiel, pisses in Trump's ear and says, we need you to do this. You got to do X, Y, and Z. And he does it. Hillary Clinton pisses in Trump's ear and says, we need you to do this. We need you to do X, Y, and Z. And he does it. And so these things that would have been moving in the right direction in a slightly more naturalistic framework are all reversed, right? There was no diminution of the prison industrial complex. There's no reforms of any kind in recent years of real substance to the economic system or to the forces that are killing the planet. You can hardly point to anything that's done in the United States that doesn't fit this kind of fascist master manipulator kind of model. Mia Khalifa is somebody who had a bunch of her money stolen by fascist master manipulators because she is not supporting fascism the way that you're supposed to if you're a personality in the Western world. So she has her money stolen. And then to add insult to injury, one of these vile pornographers who should be in a gulag, who runs a popular pornography website, says all the proceeds of the videos of Mia Khalifa that we have licensed or kind of stolen, because most of this content on this sites is stolen. You know, Mia Khalifa didn't sanction a lot of this to be used, and the rights aren't necessarily clear in most video platforms. So they say all the money from her videos we're going to donate to the Zionist fascist imperialist project. So that's not that much money, right? Considering that this is a $1 trillion abomination, military-industrial complex satellite of the United States and Western power, that doesn't make a bit of difference. But what does make a bit of difference is that this person that has almost all of their support coming from young males, an influencer of a high standing in this respect, could push the public opinion away from fascists and colonialists, and that's something that people have already been killed for doing what Mia Khalifa's done. In the case of Mia Khalifa, what they do is they destroy her by stealing her money, and then destroy her credibility by saying, "Well, we're going to have donate this to a fascist cause instead."